Nobody believed a country famous for cheap scooters could ever build a serious electric car. For years, America looked at India's electric vehicles and simply laughed them off completely. Small motors, short range, and modest designs seemed like a joke next to Tesla. Executives in Detroit and California dismissed India as a market for toys, nothing more. Wall Street analysts barely mentioned Indian EV companies in their global automotive reports at all. Late-night talk shows even joked about rickshaws pretending to be real electric cars. But then something happened on the streets of London that silenced every single critic instantly. A quiet, confident, Indian-made electric vehicle rolled through the heart of one of the world's biggest cities. Cameras turned, engineers stopped talking, and suddenly nobody was laughing anymore at all. Reporters who had ignored India for years suddenly wanted interviews, footage, and answers immediately. Even rival automakers sent quiet teams to study the vehicle up close. Social media exploded with videos, comments, and disbelief spreading across different countries within hours. How did a nation once mocked for its transport suddenly shock the entire automotive world? The answer is not one moment, but a long chain of decisions nobody outside India was watching closely. It took years of failure, sweat, and stubborn belief before the world finally noticed. Stay till the end, because what happened in London changed the global conversation completely and permanently. Let us count down the biggest moments behind India's electric vehicle rise, starting from number 10. Number 10 begins with a memory almost every Indian family shares: the humble petrol scooter. For decades, India ran on cheap fuel bikes, crowded buses, and smoky diesel engines everywhere. Cities choked on pollution, and fuel prices rose faster than most families could handle comfortably. Every morning, millions of workers rode noisy, fuel-hungry bikes through packed, chaotic city streets. Hospitals reported rising cases of breathing problems linked directly to thick vehicle smoke and dust. Parents worried about the air their children breathed while walking to school each day. Global automakers barely paid attention, assuming India would always remain a low-cost, low-tech market forever. They believed India could only consume technology, never actually create something meaningful of its own. But inside Indian garages and small startups, engineers were quietly dreaming of something completely different. They imagined a future where ordinary families could ride without burning a single drop of fuel. Late nights were spent testing small motors, cheap batteries, and rough early prototypes in tiny workshops. Many of these first attempts failed badly, catching fire, breaking down, or simply refusing to start. Investors laughed at early pitch meetings, calling the whole idea a waste of time and money. Nobody believed this dream could scale into something the whole world would eventually notice. That belief was about to be tested in ways nobody, not even the dreamers, expected. Number 9 takes us to the noisy, chaotic streets of Indian cities during the early electric shift. Companies like Ola Electric and Ather Energy began building electric scooters from the ground up. These were not slow, weak machines. They had real power, real speed, and real ambition behind them. Factories rose almost overnight, producing thousands of electric scooters every single month without pause. Young Indian engineers, many trained abroad, chose to come home and build something new entirely. They left comfortable jobs overseas because they believed in a bigger, more meaningful mission. Some even turned down high-paying offers from established car companies to join risky startups instead. International journalists visited expecting to mock the products, but many left quietly impressed instead. Test rides revealed smooth acceleration, decent range, and surprisingly solid build quality throughout. Still, most Western analysts dismissed these vehicles as toys for a developing nation only. They said India could build scooters, but never anything that mattered on the world stage. That assumption would soon come back to embarrass a lot of very confident critics. Number 8 brings us to Tata Motors, a name most Americans barely recognized at the time. While global giants focused on flashy sports cars, Tata focused on something more practical, affordable electric cars. The Tata Nexon EV became one of India's best-selling electric vehicles almost immediately after launch. It was not the fastest car in the world, but it was reliable, affordable, and truly Indian. Millions of families who never imagined owning an electric car suddenly could afford one now. Showrooms across the country saw long waiting lists as demand kept climbing month after month. Dealers struggled to keep enough units in stock, a problem nobody expected just years earlier. Bank loans for electric cars became common, something almost unheard of a decade before. Global media barely covered this quiet revolution happening across Indian roads and highways daily. American executives joked that Indian EVs were built for developing markets only, nothing more. But behind closed doors, engineers were already planning something far bigger than local roads alone. They were preparing to prove that Indian engineering could compete anywhere on Earth someday. Number 7 introduces India's biggest and boldest weapon, cheap and massive battery innovation. Batteries were the most expensive part of any electric vehicle, and India knew this well. Instead of importing everything, Indian companies invested heavily in local battery research and production facilities. New battery designs focused on withstanding extreme Indian heat, dust, and rough road conditions daily. Engineers ran endless tests in blazing summers, checking how batteries handled brutal temperature swings. Some prototypes overheated badly in early trials, forcing teams to redesign cooling systems from scratch. Months were lost to failed experiments, yet nobody involved considered walking away from the project. This was something Western companies had barely considered because their vehicles were built for cooler climates. Indian engineers essentially created batteries tough enough to survive punishing tropical conditions every single day. This toughness became an unexpected advantage when exporting vehicles to global markets later. Nobody in America imagined that Indian battery technology could quietly become globally competitive so fast, but that quiet confidence was steadily building towards something much larger and more visible. Number 6 takes us into the massive, often overlooked world of electric buses and public transport. India began deploying thousands of electric buses across major cities, replacing old diesel fleets rapidly. These were not experimental prototypes, they were real, working vehicles carrying millions of passengers daily. Government support pushed manufacturers to scale production faster than almost anywhere else in the world. Cities like Delhi and Bangalore became testing grounds for some of the largest electric bus fleets anywhere. Drivers who once complained about noisy, smoky engines suddenly praised the smooth, silent new rides. Passengers noticed cleaner air at bus stops that once smelled thick with diesel fumes. Public transport departments in other developing nations started reaching out to India for guidance and partnership. Suddenly, India was not just building vehicles, it was exporting an entire electric transport model. American cities, struggling with their own slow electric bus rollouts, quietly took notice of this progress. This shift proved India could handle large-scale, real-world electric infrastructure, not just small products. The world was slowly beginning to underestimate India less and less with each passing year. Number 5 reveals a turning point most people completely missed: India's electric two-wheeler export boom. Countries across Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America began importing Indian electric scooters and bikes. These vehicles were affordable, durable, and perfectly suited for developing economies with limited charging infrastructure.
Indian companies designed vehicles that worked even with unreliable electricity and rough, unpredictable roads. This practical approach won over markets that expensive Western electric vehicles simply could not reach. Local dealerships in distant countries began proudly displaying Indian brands next to global competitors. Shipping containers full of Indian scooters became a common sight at ports across 3 continents. Local mechanics in these countries even traveled to India for special training on new models. Slowly, the phrase "Made in India" started appearing on vehicles far beyond Indian borders entirely. American executives who once mocked these machines were now studying Indian export strategies very closely. Something that started as a local solution was becoming a serious global business model. And this export success set the stage for an even bigger, bolder international leap. Number 4 brings us to a bold and surprising decision: Indian EV startups eyeing European markets directly. Instead of staying comfortable at home, ambitious companies began preparing vehicles for stricter global standards. European safety, emission rules, and quality expectations were far tougher than Indian requirements ever were. Engineers redesigned vehicles from the ground up to meet these demanding international benchmarks properly. Crash tests, weatherproofing, and software upgrades consumed months of relentless, exhausting development work. Teams flew back and forth between Indian factories and European testing centers for endless approvals. Legal teams studied thick regulatory documents late into the night to avoid costly mistakes. This was an expensive, risky move, and many doubted Indian companies could pull it off successfully. American executives who mocked Indian machines now faced real competition from a nation they had underestimated. Something started as a local solution was becoming a serious global business model. And this export success set the stage for an even bigger, bolder international leap. Number 3 takes us straight to the streets of London, where everything changed in an instant. An Indian-made electric vehicle appeared confidently among London's busy, world-famous roads and landmarks. This was not a hidden test drive. It was a public, visible, undeniable statement to the world. Local media covered the vehicle's smooth performance, sleek design, and impressive real-world reliability closely. Passers-by who once associated India with cheap products stopped to look twice, genuinely surprised by what they saw. Curious commuters even asked drivers for photos, something nobody expected to see happen so soon. Local dealers reported a sudden wave of inquiries within days of the sighting spreading online. American automotive commentators who had mocked Indian EVs for years suddenly went quiet online. Industry analysts began writing articles asking how India managed to catch up so quickly. Comparisons to established Western brands started appearing in serious automotive publications almost overnight. This single moment in London did more for India's reputation than years of quiet manufacturing ever could. The world was forced to admit that the joke was no longer funny or accurate. Number 2 explains why this London moment mattered so deeply, far beyond just one single vehicle. It was proof that Indian engineering could meet the highest global standards, not just local ones. It showed investors worldwide that Indian EV companies were serious, capable, and internationally competitive already. Global automakers who once ignored India began scheduling urgent meetings with Indian manufacturers immediately. Suddenly, partnerships, investments, and export deals started forming at a much faster pace than before. American companies that laughed years earlier now faced real competition from a nation they had underestimated. This was not just a marketing win, it represented a genuine shift in global perception itself. India was no longer seen as a follower copying foreign electric vehicle technology and ideas.
India was becoming a serious contributor to the future of global transportation and clean mobility. And this shift leads directly to the final and most powerful reason of all. Number 1 is not about a single vehicle or even a single moment in London. It is about a mindset, a refusal to accept limitations placed by outside expectations and stereotypes. For decades, India was told what it could and could not achieve in technology, told its roads were too rough, its infrastructure too weak, its ambitions far too small. But engineers, entrepreneurs, and everyday workers refused to accept that narrow, limiting story about their country. They built vehicles suited for extreme heat, rough roads, and unpredictable daily challenges without complaint. They built industries from nothing, using determination instead of unlimited funding or endless resources. When the world laughed, India kept building, quietly, patiently, and relentlessly, without seeking outside approval. London was not luck, it was the natural result of years of disciplined, focused effort. So why does this story matter beyond cars, batteries, and busy city streets far away? Because it proves something powerful about how nations rise in the modern competitive world. Success does not always start with massive funding or advanced, expensive starting technology. Sometimes it starts with stubborn belief, patient engineering, and a refusal to give up early. For years, the world underestimated India's ability to compete in advanced global industries. They focused on outdated stereotypes instead of watching quiet, steady, determined progress happening daily behind the scenes. They did not see engineers testing batteries in extreme heat, refining designs late into the night. They did not see startups failing, rebuilding, and trying again until something finally worked properly. Every scooter on a crowded Indian street helped fund lessons for tomorrow's global export markets. Every affordable electric car sold at home built confidence for tougher international markets that lay ahead. Every electric bus running through Indian cities proved that scale was truly possible at this level. And every doubt from foreign critics only pushed Indian engineers to work even harder each day. London became the visible proof of an invisible journey many people never even noticed happening. This is not simply a story about electric vehicles rolling through famous city streets somewhere far away. This is a story about a nation refusing to stay boxed in by old assumptions and outdated labels. A story of quiet confidence eventually turning into loud, undeniable global recognition and respect. The world once laughed at the idea of Indian electric vehicles competing on an international stage. Today, those same vehicles are turning heads in one of the world's most iconic cities. Somewhere, an engineer who once worked through sleepless nights is finally watching the world take notice. Somewhere, a farmer's son who studied late by candlelight now designs machines admired across continents. Somewhere, a small workshop that once struggled for funding now ships products to distant harbors. And if this is where the journey stands right now, imagine where it goes next. Because right now, this may only be the very beginning of a much bigger global story.